Haha, there we go. Um, Finally, actually on air after some technical difficulties, actually getting everything set up and audio and all that. This is Paleo Bytes. It's a weekly show where I, Paleo, basically just interview whomever wants to come on. This week I actually have Justin freaking Mullins, who's actually a good friend of mine, also a comedian in the region. And I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself because he has a very unique introduction that I quite like.
Oh,
Justin.
oh, I see what you want me to do now. When you said I would need to introduce myself, I didn't understand what you want. You were wanting my radio introduction. Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I do.
I am the new media. Okay, okay. I am the new media messiah, the Buddha of broadcasting, the minister of mischief, and the most controversial voice in all of America, Justin freaking Mullins. Good evening.
Love it.
Now,
Um,
how should I address you? Is it Miss Clipper?
Paleo is
PC if
fine.
you're nasty.
PC if I'm nasty, we'll go with that. But for right now, Paleo is good.
Good evening, Paleo.
Yes. So Justin is located in the same area that I am. It's Northeast Tennessee. And basically, this is just an informal, relaxed interview type thing that I do. I've got questions already from the audience, but first I'm going to be asking my own questions. Justin, I told you before we started, and this is just kind of to let people in the audience know if you don't want to answer a question, feel free. You don't have to answer it. Tell me to fuck off if you want. Um,
I don't think that that's going to happen, but just to clarify, Northeast Tennessee, we are in the heart of the Bible Belt.
yes, which is why I use
I
Paleo for my online stuff.
I feel like I've been strangled by a Bible Belt in my life.
Well, I'm going to start off with my standard questions that I ask people when they come on, and then I'll move into the questions that are more targeted towards you, and then we'll move into the audience questions. Okay?
Sounds like a format to me.
All right. Um, First of all, in this one, we assume we are talking to an atheist, right?
No.
Okay. Then what do you identify as then?
I'm not really sure that I identify as atheist. I'm probably a little more agnostic. It depends on how you define God. If it's more like the Einstein conception of God, that it's the culmination of all the laws of nature and our collective consciousness, and that is God, then I'm on board, and I'd call myself a theist in that manner. But I don't think that's how most people define God. I personally feel that God has been hijacked by a cult, basically.
Okay. So how do you define atheist then?
I guess it's a lack of belief in God, and towards Christianity, towards Islam, towards any kind of metaphysical claim that man makes about knowing how we got here or where we go when we die. To that end, I'm an atheist, but I'm kind of open to the option of exactly what is out there. There's something more. What that
Okay.
is, we don't know, and that's kind of the wonder of life. That's what makes life so freaking fun to live. I think religion takes away from that, and it puts constraints on you, and you don't open your mind to all the possibilities.
Awesome. Um, were you raised with a religious background at all?
No, not at all. My parents never went to church. I went to church on my own accord, but that's only because there were no women at church or girls at the time. I honestly feel that's probably the reason why I got up and rode the church bus on Sunday mornings because there was chicks there. Vacation Bible school was always really fun. I actually went to a Christian school my eighth grade year.
Okay. How'd that go?
Really well. It was a great experience. I was kind of a troublemaker, but I don't think. I don't think that the Christian school was an exception. That's kind of been everywhere I've been.
Okay. Um, how do you feel on the subject of abortion and then using birth control to actually prevent abortions?
Oh, are we touching on the Hobby Lobby issue? Is that where we're
If
going
you
with this?
if you want to go with it in that direction, the question was actually written before the Hobby Lobby thing, but
Oh, okay. Um, I'm very much pro-choice. Um, I don't think that it is my right as an individual to dictate what somebody else's moral code is. Um, Perhaps take theoretically, I believe that life begins at conception, and I have this very strong held belief that that is killing another human being. That's fine and dandy, and it's cool for me to have that belief, but to try to force that set of morality on somebody else who doesn't look at it from that perspective, that maybe they just see it as a bunch of cells, and there are many reasons why you. Okay, the thing that really gets my goat about abortions, especially, okay, I had an argument with this woman about late term abortions,
hmm,
and she sent me to this site, and it said there was 11,000 late-term abortions performed every year in the United States. Well, I went to the CDC site, and there's 4 million pregnancies, and I did the math, and 11,000 comes up to be less than 1% of 1% of all pregnancies end in a late term abortion. And I asked her, she kept saying late term abortions were perfectly legal, that people could go and say that it's bothering their allergies and they could have an abortion. I'm like, that is not true. Late term abortions are illegal in every state in the country except in the condition of the mother's health. And I was like,
right.
don't you believe that in all these pregnancies that less than 1% of 1% could have a health complication? It's unfathomable that you would be against this, because it's so minuscule the amount of people that go through a late term abortion. But people that decide, early on to abort their child, more power to them. If they are not in a situation where they can raise a child, where they are not mature enough to handle a child, or they're not in a financial situation where they can handle a child, then they have no business having a child. And to go forward with that, to go forward with birthing that child, almost puts them at a disadvantage when you can abort, you can wait later. Because I mean, it's not like we have a shortage of people in the world. Well, we're approaching 8 billion now,
Yeah, something like that.
and we're talking about water shortages and energy shortages in the next decade or so.
Yeah, not to mention gasoline shortages.
Oh, gases. A lot of people get all up in arms about, we need to get off the fossil fuels, which we do. But ultimately, in a way, I kind of feel like the markets are going to take care of it. And solar power is becoming more affordable. Wind power is becoming more affordable. And I think we're going to see the switch over. A lot of people are very doom and gloom about climate change. I think that we have conquered some pretty big tasks in our history as a race, and we can do it again. We got some very smart people. A lot of people want to down, the people in charge or the people in power. I think there's some good people up there. There's some good people in Washington. There's good people that are looking out for us, and there's wonderful scientists. There's fantastic medical doctors, and ultimately we're going to overcome it because we're a freaking resilient race. Now, that's not to say we're not going to have struggles and we're going to face some hard times here, and that's most certainly coming.
Right. All right.
I don't know how I got off on that tangent. My apologies.
It's okay. It happens.
Wasn't the question
Better.
about abortion?
Yeah, abortion and birth control.
And have you ever seen and I didn't even address birth control, my apologies. Have you ever seen the movie Freakonomics or read the book Freakonomics?
I have not actually.
Okay, they go into detail. It's several different stories. It's like an economist and a sociologist who tackle all these different issues. And there's one story that they tell about abortion and how I think it was 20 years after Roe v. Wade, crime rates were reduced significantly. Like sometimes 20 to 30% in these areas, especially where abortion was easily available. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Less unwanted children means less, people that are out there struggling to make it that might resort to a life of crime or drugs. So,
Yep.
hey, I think abortion's a good thing. Not necessarily a good thing. It's a hard decision for any woman to have to go through. And my heart goes out to the people. And that's one of the things that I can't. These pro-lifers kill me, because you can't possibly know what that person is going through. You can't. They're not making this decision lightly. They're not like, let's go kill a baby. They are truly making one of the toughest decisions of their lives, and
Yep.
those assholes are making it even harder on them. And that's one of the reasons why I feel I need to step up and speak about it. And as for birth control, like I pull out.
Yeah, I assume
That
you
was
use
supposed to be a joke.
condoms.
You were supposed to. I'm sorry.
I snickered,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
um, you use condoms though and such. I imagine is basically what I'm getting at. You have absolutely nothing
Most of
wrong
the
with birth
time,
control.
yes. No, no, not at all.
Okay.
Whatever,
Um.
whatever method works for you.
Okay. Uh. Next subject is
You're
what is
sponge worthy. I'm sorry, that was a Seinfeld joke.
what what is your view on death with dignity? Some people actually end up calling this assisted suicide.
Assisted suicide. First of all, let's take the most famous case, and that would be Dr. Kevorkian.
Yes.
Having watched documentaries and read books about him, like, 'cause you grow up with this idea of this like dark, twisted individual. Dr. Kevorkian is actually really freaking cool, and he's doing a service. I'm all for physician assisted suicide. If that's the way you want to go out, more power to you. Once again, one of my idols, Hunter S. Thompson, blew his brains out. He was terminal. If that's the way you want to go out, go for it, because of course he wants to go out with a bang.
um. Next subject is one that I kind of already know your view on this, but a lot of times, at least in the circles that we tend to get around here, people are like, "Oh, I can't support the gays and all that." So, what is your view on the LGBTQ community? That's
I
such a
will
mouthful.
kick the ass of anyone who bullies somebody based on their sexuality. I will personally stand up to them. I might not, when I say kick their ass, it might be more of a tongue lashing, because that's my forte. I don't think I'm really gonna, beat anybody up.
Right.
I'm a
But
lover, not a fighter.
drop love, not war, or bombs, or whatever it was. Damn it, I forgot the phrase.
I have no clue.
I don't know.
I'm all
Anyway,
original, baby. Like I don't resort to cliches.
um, what role does religion have in the world?
What role do I think it has, or what role does it have?
Let's go with what role do you think it has?
In my personal opinion, is that what you're asking? Like,
Yeah,
do
yeah. In your personal
I
opinion,
think
what
I think
role does religion have?
the first thing you have to ask yourself is it doing any good? I've asked so many people on so many occasions, show me what good religion has done that couldn't be done in its absence. You know, yeah, there's people that go overseas and they do some wonderful work with kids and what have you. Could they have not done that without religion? Aren't there plenty of people without religion that do it? And in a way, I think it kind of taints your your ultimate goal is to preach the word to these poor kids. That's the last thing they need. They don't need your stupid Jesus. They need food and clean water and schools and an education. Like I feel it's wrong to go over there and you're trying to convert them to save your soul and make sure you go to heaven because of your good works. Like, I think that's a little fucked up in the head. Like, I don't get it myself.
Can't eat a Bible, but they can eat beef jerky, right?
Exactly. I wouldn't want to give them beef jerky. No processed American. That's the last thing they need is high sodium processed American bullshit. Get them
Show
a
them how to
garden,
make
damn
jerky
it.
out of their own. Yeah, teaching them how to farm would be a good thing. Um,
Well, that goes into a whole other host of issues with irrigation
True.
capabilities in these third world countries. I assume that's
Yeah,
what
it
we're
does.
talking about because we're talking about missionaries. What was the question? Well, oh,
Uh,
I didn't even shit. What role do I think religion has in the world? Right
mhm.
now, I think it's a detriment. I think it is holding us back. I have a bit where I'm like, it's holding us back from our next step of evolution. We could, grow an appendage on the back of our shoulder blades that we'll be able to scratch our ass with, and religion is holding us back from that. Now, that is just me being humorous, but there's these switches. I can't remember exactly what it is. These switches in our DNA, and we've only unlocked half of them or something. We only see a small part of the spectrum. We might be seeing an infrared or something in the next step of the evolutionary chain. And I truly believe it's religion that's holding us back. And we might be able to, telepathically send our thoughts to other people and shit, like Twilight Zone stuff.
Ooh.
I think it'd
No,
be cool.
I completely agree with you. That would actually be really damn cool. Um, is stuff that's going on in the news. I personally haven't really paid attention to the news lately, but are there any religious issues that you notice going on that you'd like to speak about or basically kind of rant about?
Well, as I mentioned, the whole Hobby Lobby case the other day, I guess that's kind of the
Right.
big religious news is that the conservative court, sided with the corporation, saying that they can limit birth control because not because this is the screwy thing about the ruling. It's not because the products they claim are actually causing abortions. They are birth control. They are preventative measures. What the decision said was that the employer, if they believe a product causes an abortion, can limit access to the product. And obviously, I think that's batshit wrong. It means facts don't matter. That's basically what
Right.
the Supreme Court ruled, and that upsets me greatly. Which that's another reason. Like, people say there's no difference between the two political parties. There's a world of difference. We need Democrats in there. If we only have two options, the Democrats are by far the better option, hands down, no mistake about it. Republicans just suck.
Republicans are, your words, batshit crazy. I think.
Well, it's not so much that they're batshit crazy. It's they are acting so much in their own self-serving interests, and they are so. Both parties are beholden to Wall Street and big banks and big corporations, but the
Oh yeah.
Republicans are far more intricate, and like they are there strictly for one agenda, and it's a deregulation, privatization agenda. And obviously, that's what the wealthy elite would want in this country, and that's what we got to speak out against. I'm sorry, we didn't. Did we come here to talk about politics, or are we still on religious issues?
Uh, religious issues.
Fuck Hobby Lobby. I do want to rant about. Do you know who Holly Hobby Lobby is?
No.
Okay. Holly Hobby Lobby wore a shirt that said pro-life and had a cup of Chick-fil-A, and she took a picture in front of Hobby Lobby and shared it out on her Twitter. And then she felt that she didn't go far enough. That one went a little viral. But then she felt like she didn't go far enough, so she's in front of an American flag with like an AK and a Bible in her hand.
Oh dear.
And somebody like went on Illustrator and put a picture of a Muslim militant girl holding an AK and the Quran in front of, whatever flag. And like the two juxtaposed to each other, I mean, it is striking. And this bitch is trying to make a name for herself off of this. I'm like, can't you see that there is no difference? And a couple of my friends wanted to take me to task on that and said, there's no Christians that are going out here and being, militant in the streets and everything. And my response to that is they would. They're not in the economic and political strife that people that are in the Middle East are under, the duress that they are under. They are in a much different. The Christians out, you put them in the same situation that the Muslims are in the Middle East, and you'll have the same shit happen. Religion is the mechanism, and I'm not talking about like spirituality. Like I'm spiritual, like I believe in the the Tao and teachings of Buddha and Confucius and what have you. I don't like the mysticism. I don't like metaphysical claims that you can't back up with, evidence.
Okay.
Pisses me off. What were we talking about again? Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
Fuck Hobby Lobby.
Your thing about the metaphysical and you mentioned it pisses you off. My next question was actually, when it comes to religion, what thing about it, one thing about religion just makes you want to scream and yell and possibly throw flaming knives at someone?
Did you see the video of the Christian comedian that destroyed atheism with one hilarious question? I'm pretty sure that was the title of it. Did you see that video?
I think I did, but refresh our memory.
The dude goes into this whole piece about atheists are offended by under God and the Pledge of Allegiance and on our money.
Yes, I remember that.
And he goes on to say something to the effect of, dude, you don't even believe in God. How can he offend you?
Yeah.
And my response to that is, Christians are also offended by something that they don't believe in. Logic.
Yeah. This one kind of goes into...
That's what I'm doing. What?
Sorry?
I'm trying out new material tonight. It's one I've been working on. It's been in the back pocket.
I actually like that, though. I do like that. Moving into a slightly different subject here. What is your favorite non-religious book, or what type of book would you recommend someone else to read?
Other than religion and philosophy, I haven't read that many books. Everything, okay, I've read a lot of political things, a couple biographical things. The Long Emergency is a very, very interesting book. It's about, once again, it's a more apocalyptic view about what's going to happen to us because of climate change. Peak oil, if you're familiar with the concept. Do you know who Michael Rupert is?
Vaguely.
He preaches all the end of time scenarios about how big oil and everything is gonna collapse, and we're going to. But the book actually mentions how the suburbs, these sprawling suburbs that have been made possible by burning fossil fuels, they're going to be the ghettos of the future, and everybody's going to have to go back to city living, and they're going to have to congregate more because we're not going to be able to travel the way that we once did. Once again, I don't have that kind of apocalyptic view about what's going to happen. Every day things get better and better. Now's a better time to be alive than it was yesterday and 20 years ago or 50 years ago. So that's my outlook on it. What were we talking about again?
Favorite non-religious book that you'd recommend to someone?
Have you ever read A Transcendent Man?
No, but I've heard of it.
That is about, it's a book about Ray Kurzweil, and he's a famous inventor, and he predicts, exactly what's going to happen in the future, and I think by 2040 we're supposed to be like, we've come to the singularity machine where we're gonna have Google in our frontal lobe and shit. So it's a really neat book, and it's also a movie. I mentioned Freakonomics earlier. Freakonomics is a great book.
Okay.
Anything by Tom Hartman.
It's the way I am with Christopher Moore. Read whatever you can from Christopher Moore.
I'm not familiar. I'm gonna have to look him up. See, I read a lot of Hitchens and Dawkins and stuff though too.
That actually segues into my next question. But before I say that, Christopher Moore is actually a comedian writer who
Really?
one of his books is actually called Lamb, The Gospel According to Biff, Christ's Childhood Friend.
Is that the one that Jesus supposedly knocked off the roof and brought back to life? Or is this a fictitious character?
This is a fictitious character.
Oh, okay.
To give you a concept, Jesus ends up in India training under some of the monks there, and Biff is complaining because he can't see a chick or lay her.
Well, that kind of... I want to say that there's a passage about Jesus being in India in one of the Apocrypha.
I believe so.
One of the lost books of the Bible. So that may not be too far off from the truth. And if Jesus really was a real person, I'm sure he tried to get laid.
Oh, by all means.
It just defies common sense. After all, he was, dating a whore.
Yeah. There's one of Christopher Moore's other books, the one that I first got me into his writing, is called Fool. And it's a retelling of King Lear from the point of view of the court jester. And it's really, really interesting. But in the foreword of the book, there's actually a warning that includes basically, and there will be gratuitous shagging in this book.
I like the word shagging. But kind of once the Austin Powers movie came out, like it took away all the funness of using the word shagging. It got overused, but I guess now in 2014 we can kind of bring it back and talk about shagging again.
So, you mentioned Dawkins and Hitchens and such. What is your view on big-name atheists like that? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Is there one that you're like, I wish you would just shut up and go away?
Well, my favorite, to me, the best philosophers are comedians. My favorite atheists that I can point to, the big famous ones, George Carlin, Bill Hicks, Louis C.K. Those are the guys that I look up to right now, and not Louis C.K. so much. He doesn't talk a lot about religion. Does some, but especially Carlin and Bill Hicks. Oh, Tim Minchin. Tim Minchin is like my idol. So those are my favorite. As for Hitchens, was awesome. Love Hitchens. But ultimately, he wasn't a good bastion of our cause, and I'm kind of glad that our cause got picked up by Bill Nye the Science Guy and Dr. DeGrasse Tyson. So they are wonderful bastions of our viewpoint. They're very likable characters. Much like Hitchens, I'm not a likable character. And
I would debate that.
For too long... You like me, but the average I'm not appealing to a mass audience. My shit is for an audience of a higher intellect.
as you've said.
That's how I open my show. I
Right.
insult the audience first thing when it gets a good
Sorry.
laugh most of the time. Unless it's like a dumb person is sitting in the audience like shit.
Um, Speaking of your show, you do comedic stand up. Um, then that's in the area and such. And I've pulled some questions related to your show and such that I'd like to ask, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Shoot.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you have a joke in which you state that some decent, hardworking people need drugs. Were you actually referring to such things as pot or the proper use of prescription drugs?
I am talking. Okay, this is one thing I share in common with libertarians. I think all drugs should be legal across the board, and most certainly, not only should they be legal, we should treat drug addicts, people that actually get addicted to drugs, with dignity and respect, and not as criminals. And we should help them. We should help them overcome their addiction through medical treatment, because that's what it is. It's a medical issue. It's a psychological issue, and
Right.
going to jail for drug possession does you no good, but going to the doctor very well could. That just rhymed. Hold on. Where's my book? I'm gonna have to write that shit down.
Well, it's being recorded, so you can go back and look at it too if you want.
Good point. What was the question
Um,
again? Oh, good, hardworking, decent people need some drugs. Yes. I think there are many people who would smoke pot if it was legal and it was socially acceptable to do so, and that they would have a better time. They'd be more enjoyable in life. 'Cause, let's face it, there's some cranky people out there that could use some, a little herb in their life.
yep. I can think of a few, but I'm not going to mention their names on the internet because they're related to me. Um,
And then, okay, and then like my mom mentioned something about autoerotic asphyxiation earlier. And I was
okay.
like, well, why not just do meth? It's safer than that. I don't know if it's safer. I'm sorry, I was trying to make a joke. I
Well,
probably didn't go anywhere.
no.
Anyway,
Um,
meth
that
might be
actually
a lot safer than drinking 5 energy drinks a day.
that is true. That is very true. There was actually a while back. The only way I can get rid of my migraines when I have them is to actually drink a Red Bull. And I've tried prescription medications to get
Ew.
rid of them. It didn't work.
Really?
But yeah, it's the high caffeine content in it. But as soon as my mom saw me drinking that, she's like, "Your heart's gonna explode." It's like, I don't think my heart's gonna explode from one, but I learned my lesson not to overdose on caffeine once, and I'm never gonna do that again.
You can overdose on caffeine, really?
Yeah, you actually start hallucinating. It's kind of weird.
I'm gonna have to try this out later. That sounds
Just watch out for the shakes. That's all I can say.
well. I've been off the soda for a while.
Ah. So, in your show, you make a lot of sex jokes and are rather open about the idea of sex and sexuality. Is this a concept that you were raised with, or did you come to your own conclusions about sex and how you're supposed to be open about it, that kind of thing?
No, I was not raised this way. This is actually ironic. My mother and I had the conversation earlier that we have different values about things, and we do very much. I I don't think we're meant to be monogamous. I think if you find somebody and you want to be monogamous with them, more power to you. Hell yeah, do it if that's what you both agree on. I don't think ultimately it's all that healthy. Some people it works for some people though, and a lot of people wouldn't work in my lifestyle. So it's que sera sera, like
Mm.
What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So you can't make broad rules across the board on how one should live their lives. Everybody's experience is different.
Awesome. We touched in on the political stuff for a little while, and you touch a little
Oh,
bit
we're
in your
done with
show about
sex
it.
already?
Oh, I'll probably be coming back to that.
Oh, okay.
I think anyway.
My sex jokes didn't go over very well the other night. And I did all my other material went really well. My sex jokes didn't go over that well. And I was
Aw.
like, I'm just going to have to wrap it up because all I've got left is nothing but sex jokes. I don't think I should do pussy in the morning at this place, so.
Um, so what's your view on how this country is being run, and how do you feel about the president?
How this country is being run. I actually want me to share an idea with you.
Go ahead.
It's I personally feel that it's brilliant. You heard it here first. Check it out. We should do away with the House of Representatives.
Okay.
Completely do away with it. In its place, you install a Facebook-like program, and you get a salary. You log on, let's say, $100 a month. If you log on and you vote for the bills, and then you bring a bill forward, we all log on with our Social Security number. We all vote on all the bills, and we get it. We get paid to do it. And it's in philosophy they call it a shit. Something income. I can't remember what it is, but it's where like you're guaranteed a certain amount of money, and then capitalism takes over, and you can go out and do whatever. But think about it, $500 a month to be your own vote in a Greek style democracy, where we have the ability now and the technology to have a town hall style vote on everything. You
Yeah.
keep the Senate, so therefore, because one of the things the founders were concerned about was being too reactionary. So you keep the Senate. It stops, because we'll propose all kinds of crazy shit and send up to them, and then they'll kind of be the old entrenched people that weeds it out. They're the filter that everything goes through. But hey, you wouldn't be able to stop the people from being able to speak up. We would truly have a mechanism and truly have a voice in government, and I think it would be a big boost to morality in this country.
Yeah.
Not morality. It would be a big boost to morale in this country.
Yeah.
And I think more people would get engaged civically.
I actually really like that idea, especially with how connected we are right now.
Exactly. I guess the one downside to that would be and people would always come at you with, well, what about security issues? And I'm
Right.
like, how is there security issues when I can do my banking online, and who's gonna want to hack the system when we've all got a freaking vote?
Right.
I'm sure there's a way. We've got some of the most brilliant minds in the world here in this country. I'm sure we can come up with a way to be able to do it securely.
Oh yeah. By all means. Um, Going back to the drugs thing here.
To the drugs?
Yep. You make no
I don't
apologies
like
for
the
being a
drugs, but the
pothead.
drugs like me. No,
Yeah,
I
oh, I love
don't.
that song. So, where or when did you first start smoking, and why?
It was on a speech trip when I was a junior in high school, and we were in Gatlinburg, and I don't know. I guess I was never really opposed to the idea of smoking. I never really saw it as a bad thing. I don't know. I can't remember having a negative connotation about the idea of smoking pot at any point in
Okay.
time in my life. So I was never like, ooh, maybe when I was a little kid. 7 or 8, didn't know what the hell I was talking about. But by the time I was 15 or 16, I didn't look at it as that big of a deal. And I was with several friends I was very comfortable with. It was somebody else's first time getting high too. It was some older kids had brought the pot along with us, and shit, we're in Gatlinburg for this big speech tournament, and I didn't get high that time. That's not the first time I got it because I didn't know how to smoke it. Most people don't get high their first time smoking it, but a couple months later, I realized how you're actually supposed to smoke it, and got really stoned, and that was fun.
So, in your skit, you actually recently told a story about a woman at the local college who was offended by your shirt that says "high as fuck." Um, in that joke, you actually list several things that you're personally offended by. Um, and I'm sure you've heard the argument that you can't have morals without a deity. So how is it that you're
Oh
actually
God,
offended?
the presuppositionalists. Oh
Yes.
God, I hate that argument.
How are you offended by things that are viewed as immoral, yet as somebody who doesn't have a belief in God, you apparently have no code for morality here?
I don't accept that argument in the least. If I can provide a way that morality can come about, absence of a deity, then you have to accept that. It's what's the best evidence that you have. You take all these arguments. This is going into like logic here. You take all these arguments and you fight it out in this dome of intellectualism, and whoever can provide the best explanation with all the common knowledge accepted. You're not making any claims to things that you can't see. If I can do that and provide a better explanation, then you have to accept that. And I feel that empathy and obviously evolutionary traits. Okay, talk about wolves that became dogs through domestication. They became cute so that humans would love them and take care of them. Why couldn't we develop the ability to empathize with other people in order to be able to take care of them, to make sure that the hive survives? That idea isn't the idea that you have to have a deity in order to have a moral code. Just it's foreign to me. I don't get it. And if there was a deity and if there was a strict moral code, why is everybody's morality different? Why are we,
Right.
why are some of us over here on the right? Why are some of us over here on the left? If there was a set morality, it wouldn't vary between cultures. It wouldn't vary between people. And it does, so they can fuck off.
Oh,
Sigh, Tin, Brug, and Kate.
I went to that debate.
I know you did. And you said
Uh,
Hogan was a nice guy.
yeah, Hogan's actually, if you don't get him on like the whole debate evolution thing, he's actually a really cordial guy. Unfortunately, I wish Cy was more cordial than he was off stage.
Well, he just seems like an asshole.
Yeah,
I mean, the
unfortunately,
man looks like an asshole.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, I mean, I'm an asshole, but I feel like my heart is in the right place.
Well, you look like Jesus, dude.
One time, a preacher looked at me and said, "You look too much like Jesus to lie to me." I just kind of laughed it off.
Okay.
Like, sure thing, pal.
Um, what is your favorite religious joke that you've come up with?
That's a tough one because two of them I love so very, 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 very much. Do you want me to do them? They're
Sure,
two of
go
my
right ahead.
favorite jokes of all to do. I found this thing on Facebook, and it's called Christian Pirate Radio. And the idea just boggled my mind. Christian Pirate Radio? What the hell is that? Instead of clicking on it to find out what it was, I found it more fun to come up with my own ideas about it. Like maybe their catchphrase is "Arg men." Perhaps instead of making you walk the plank, they nail you to it.
See, I love that part.
See, I love it because I do the corny argument. I admit that is the corniest joke. But then I follow it up with the one that I think is just so awesome. Oh, and I've got three really shit. All my religious jokes are funny to me. Another one that I really like is have you heard about the group of Christians that anytime a Muslim wants to build a mosque, they go and they bury a pig and it makes the ground unsacred, and then the Muslims won't build the mosque there. It gave me the idea that from now on, anytime a Christian wants to build a church, I'm going to bury a gay.
You just bury
I
a rainbow
love
flag.
Well, that doesn't have the power to it. It doesn't have the punch. But
That's true.
the one thing I don't like about that joke is I don't want to offend anybody who's homosexual.
Right.
Because I'm on their side. I feel like I'm doing it to be ironic. I'm making fun of Christians, not gay people, with the joke.
Right.
It's just absurd to me that they would have that they would almost treat gay people as if they were pigs, basically, is the point
Sure.
that I'm making. Not everybody sees it that way, and there was a homosexual couple at one of my previous shows, and that was one of the first jokes I did early on, and I kind of lost them for a little bit, and I think some people said they almost walked out during my set, but that I brought them back. They enjoyed the rest of my set, and I went up and talked to them afterwards. So, and they were really cool about it because I was like, "Hey, I'm on your side," and I think one of the things I want to develop is something that I go on your side and then make that joke so I don't feel so bad about it.
That makes sense.
My other favorite religious joke, and this is a true story, I shit you not. I ran into a guy one time that had a shirt on, and it said, "This shirt is illegal in 52 countries." And it had a giant red cross on it, and he was handing out Bibles and shit. I looked it up on my phone. It's only 4 countries. It's North Korea, China, Saudi Arabia, and then the other one was kind of surprising. It was like Turkey. And they weren't really. It wasn't that Christianity or Christian symbols was outlawed. Like in China, it was all religious symbols are outlawed. North Korea, it's all religious symbols are outlawed. In Saudi Arabia, it's attempts to convert somebody is outlawed. It's not that the Christian symbols are outlawed. And that's one of the things that I hate about Christians is they claim persecution all the time.
Right.
And basically that's what that shirt's doing. He's like, hey, if I wore my Christian shirt into one of these 52 countries, it's illegal. And that's what he's claiming. I'm being persecuted all over the world, as if it's some badge of honor or some bullshit. But, I looked at the dude and I'm like, hey, you might not want to wear it in 52 countries, but that could be because the last time somebody came into their country with a giant red cross on their chest, things didn't go too well for them.
Crusades, right?
And exactly. And there's always about half the audience doesn't get the joke. So I'll always... Well, no, I understand why they don't get the joke. You got to be kind of well-rounded and educated. But I'll always find somebody that didn't get it, and I'll look them right in the eyes and said, what? It's a Crusades joke. Too fucking soon? That always gets a really good laugh.
I'm tearing up, Justin.
I will take that as a compliment.
It is. It is. Let's just hope I don't hyperventilate.
I've never made somebody hyperventilate before. I've made somebody storm out before. I had a heckler one time, and I had to deal with her. She, and I've gotten a couple of hecklers, but the last one I had was at the next door, and I made a joke about women with daddy issues. And she yelled something at me, and I had no clue what she yelled at me because I couldn't hear up on stage. And I stopped my set, and I looked at her, and I was like, do you have some issues? You need to come back to my place after the show and work out, honey? And she yelled at me again. And I was like, you want to come up here on the stage and hold this? And then I grabbed my crotch. It's like, how about I make you hold this on stage? And she stormed out after that. So I don't know.
Oh dear.
But it kind of upset me because I lost some time and I was going to do my new bit hashtag just nymphoprobs, which if you watch my video that's up on my Reverb Nation, hashtag just nymphoprobs. I did that at the Willow Tree this past month and it went over really well. I was going to do it at the next door and I was pressed for time. So because of my heckler and I couldn't get it all out.
Aw.
Give bitches brownies. Bitches love brownies.
Brownies are good.
I'm gonna make them for you next time you come over. Should I have not said that on the air?
Well, I did mention that I'm your friend, so.
Oh, okay, good.
We'll just not go into further detail. On
Okie dokie.
I believe it's on ETSU campus that you have the Friday Night Freak Show radio show, correct?
I will not be returning in that role this semester.
Okay.
I need to update my bio, I guess. So things didn't work out too well. I had to take a semester off. I've thought about podcasting, doing something similar to what you're doing. Getting everybody together, getting the equipment, it's a little bit of a hassle. Obviously we had the troubles earlier.
Right.
I don't want to have to deal with that kind of issue.
Yeah. So it's my own curiosity. Where'd you come up with the name of Freak Show for it, though?
Because I'm Justin freaking Mullins.
Okay. That's a simple enough answer.
I really like alliteration. And I wanted to do the show on Friday because I felt Friday was a fun time. I wanted to be a party-like atmosphere on my show. Right. And the Friday Night Freak Show with Justin freaking Mullins, it just sounds good.
It does.
And at the time, I YouTubed it, and I was the only thing called The Freak Show, amazingly enough.
Wow.
And since then, well, the only thing called The Friday Night Freak Show. I had the Friday Night Freak, but I think somebody has stole that since then. I'm going to take credit for it, though.
Credit where it's due.
Well, so, I don't have the money to copyright or trademark shit.
Oh, well. Looking at your Reverb Nation page, you have a couple different
Russell Brand stole my character.
What?
Russell Brand stole my character. He's on the Messiah Complex tour. Russell Brand is being me right now. Watch him on NBC or MSNBC, whatever it is. You watch his little YouTube that he's been doing. He's calling himself the Messiah, and he grew his hair out to look like Jesus, and he stole my shtick. I was doing it first, I swear.
I'm sorry.
I've been the new media messiah for years.
Yeah. Speaking of the hair growing out thing, I actually saw a picture of you when you were younger, and goddamn, you look different. But why'd you grow your hair out in the first place?
Look sexy?
I think you look better with the long hair, personally.
Oh, thank you. I do too. And my mom enjoys my long hair, and her best friend just told me earlier today not to cut it. I always had to have short hair for work. I tried to grow it out several times in my life and ended up having to cut it off to be dignified. I was a newsman for a little while, and I had to wear a suit and tie, have short hair and everything. I started growing it out before I came back to college. And one of the main reasons why I really wanted to do it was because if I don't do it now, I'm going to lose my hair, and I'm never going to get to have long hair. So I've gotten to have long hair for like the last 4 years, and it's been wonderful. I love my hair. The only thing is I've rolled it up in the window, I've shut it in the door behind me, and I've lit it on fire. So
I've done that.
Oh, I have sucked it into my mouth and about choked on it before as well. So
I did that earlier today.
Were you singing along to a song and headbanging? 'Cause that's what I
No,
was doing.
I was actually trying to take a sip of my drink.
And your hair just
Yep,
like swooped around and went into your mouth.
yep, my hair was down at the time.
My apologies.
Hey, it happens. Um, and this is the last question from me. You said you got fired for having a stripper on air. What what happened? There's got to be
The
a story
stripper
behind that. What
incident.
happened?
Um, Weeks before it was the semester premiere of the Friday Night Freak Show after a very successful semester the semester before, and I wanted to do something big to garner a lot of attention. I was also the station manager at the time, and in my personal view, the biggest thing that was wrong with that radio station was nobody knew it was there.
Huh.
You'd ask anybody out on campus at ETSU about our radio station, and they'd be like, "What radio station? I didn't know we had a radio station." And my goal was to create as much publicity, as much press, as much visibility for that station as I possibly could, because I felt that that was the main thing lacking.
Right.
So I decided I wanted to pull a little stunt, and I happened to be working at Fuzzy Holes at the time. And Robert Rodriguez has this awesome quote where it's, I can't remember the quote exactly, but he's talking about, you make a movie with what you had to work with. He worked in a
Mhm.
bar when he made his first movie, so he made the movie inside the bar because that's what he had to work with. I was working as a DJ and MC at Fuzzy Holes, so I decided to bring a stripper on the air, which would generate the buzz that I wanted,
Mhm.
get people talking, which was exactly what was needed with that radio station. And I told everybody weeks in advance that I was going to do it. It was a big surprise, and they popped up the day of and told me that they weren't going to let me go through with it. They'd let me interview her, but she couldn't do any kind of dancing or anything on the air. I'm like, we're on the radio. What in the hell?
Yeah.
She was also a student at ETSU, so I felt like that was pertinent. Because how is it any different? I had her on demonstrating her job. How is that any different than a musician doing their
Right.
thing on my show? It's a talent that somebody possesses. I want to showcase it, and they're a student at the college. So I felt wronged by that incident. Uh,
I don't
I
blame you.
was I was fired from my position as the station manager and as the host of the Freak Show, though the Freak Show came back later.
Right.
So it all worked out well.
Well then, that that is to me that's surprising that they decided to actually fire you the day of, even though you'd already given them plenty of warning about it.
Indeed, it surprised me as well. But I forgot what I was going to say now. Continue.
Uh, but
It's at least I went down in infamy though, because like the stripper incident is known. All you have to do in Morph Pickle is say the strip. Everybody knows what you're talking about. So that's kind of cool. I've got that going for me.
that's
I
good.
like to leave everybody talking. Though they say no press is
Yeah, no
no
press
press
is
is
bad, is negative
I
or whatever.
yes, no press is bad press. Indeed. So that's the way I look at it. And I've had all these incidents happen to me. Why not play it up? Why not play it into the character? I don't really feel that I'm the most controversial voice in America. I just feel I have the track record to prove it. I don't think I'm saying anything all that controversial.
I don't think you are, but on to
We're on a different wavelength than most people.
that's true. That is true.
What was
Um,
you shook at me?
my pen.
Oh,
It's my pen.
okay.
What did you think it was?
Do you really want to know?
Yes, I do.
A dildo.
If a guy
You're
has a
shaking.
dick this thin, I feel really bad for them.
Oh, you were just waving it around. I don't have the best picture here. I don't know how everybody else's picture quality is, but
Oh,
you're not in high def, that's for sure. I
which is
guess
weird
about
because I have it.
380.
Huh. Odd. I have it set to actually be on HD. I don't know.
Huh. Oh,
Who
it could be
knows?
this computer. It's not
Okay.
necessarily you.
The evil computer that made us delay the show.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. The computer is an infinity, not you.
Well, I mean, you can't hold its specs against it, and that's the way I look at it. Like it's fine for what it is, but it's not made to do video conferencing or anything. So you can't
Okay.
hold the specs against the computer, and that's the way I feel about other human beings. Is you can't hold their specs against them. Somebody is born gay, you can't hold that against them. Shit.
That's true. That's true. So on to audience Q&A then,
Ooh,
since I've had
yay!
questions. I'd take that as a yes. These
I
questions have
enjoy. I'm interested to see what the audience is going to ask me.
right. These questions were actually asked ahead of time. We have two live viewers at the moment, one of which I actually had previously on the show, and he basically just made the comment that he's only seeing a picture of you, which is basically what we came to the conclusion of. We just couldn't get the camera to work for you, so
I'm sorry, it's not my picture of Jesus. I should have changed it before we went on the air. I do
it's
look a
okay.
little Jesus-like.
Yes, you do. So the first question we've got for you is, what is your angle on life? For clarification, why get up in the morning if there's no God?
Why the fuck not? Like that's what do you have to do other than live life? That's the thing that's mind-boggling. I can't understand that perspective of like what's the point of life if there is no God? Life? That's the point. It's better than the alternative. I don't understand why not. This is a wondrous world that we get to. It's like a roller coaster. It's the Bill Hicks thing. Life is just a ride, and you get to get up in the ride, and it's all noisy and pretty lights and everything. It's wondrous.
See, my answer to that question is eat, sleep, and breed.
Is that the point of life?
When you break it down to its very simplistic aspect, I think so.
Unfortunately, I
Get some
don't
food.
think that. Unfortunately, I don't think that the people that need to be breeding are the people that are breeding. Because like the more educated you are, the less likely you are to have children.
That's true.
And the dumber the dugger you are, the more children you're. Did you get that joke? That joke was good.
Idiocracy.
Huh?
But
Now you went over my head.
oh, it's a video or a movie. I mean,
The dumber the Duggar, the Duggar family, they got like 20 something
oh
kids.
yes, derp.
Screw those assholes.
Eh. Um, has your lack of belief caused any problems for you in your career?
Oh God, yes. Oh, I don't think it's the lack of belief per se in and of itself. It's how I handle it. It's how I portray myself. It's how I let that manifest itself that has really affected my career. And I don't want to say, what was the question exactly again? Was it like affected in a negative way?
The question specifically is, has being an atheist caused problems for Justin in his career? But you stated earlier that you
Cause
don't
problems.
really, right. You stated earlier don't technically qualify yourself as an atheist, so I modified the question slightly.
Oh well, I mean, to everybody's concept of God is, as we understand it as a society, I'm an atheist,
Okay.
but it's caused me problems, but it's also been wonderful. It's helped my career because okay, I may not appeal to everybody, but the audience that I appeal to is very fervent in their support. And, you know, rather than be a flash in the pan that can appeal to a wide base at one point in time, then maybe die out, I think I'll develop a following that will follow, because I've already seen it with my stand-up. People that like me come back to my shows. They see me at other places when I'm going to be out. They go, they listen to my reverb. That's how I've shot up the reverb chart so fast.
Right.
So
Yeah, it said you're in
because
the
I'm
top
appealing to a
50 right now.
niche, yes, thank you, thank you. Because I appeal to a niche, and that niche is likely to be very supportive, because that niche also isn't very well represented, in my opinion.
Right.
And Bill Maher says it all the time. Atheists are the largest minority in the country, and statistically, an atheist couldn't be elected president, and that's crazy to me.
I agree with you on
That's
that.
But then again, Bill Maher also argues that President Obama is actually an atheist. He doesn't really believe all the church nonsense.
Uh,
I could see that.
I honestly really don't know. I haven't really paid all that much attention to the president.
So, has it been a problem? To an extent, but you know what? All the experiences that I've had are what made me who I am, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've had a crazy freaking life, but it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful ride. So, shit, it hasn't been a problem. It's been a blessing, and as I said, I found a community that I can actually pitch myself to and go out and try to make it. I've been trying to share out my memes and stuff, because and that's a meme I shared out this week. A woman told me that she'd pray for me the other day. I said, if you're going to murmur my name to yourself, at least do it while you're masturbating. That way one of us gets something out of it.
I still like that
I've
one.
been I've been sharing that meme out, so I'm hoping it goes somewhere, and it's gotten a really good response on all sorts of atheist sites.
Good. I like it personally.
Well, thank you,
Um,
ma'am.
the the next Q&A from the audience we had was, and this one has a little bit of a clarification paragraph attached to it. But do you claim your body to be your own property? If yes, and on what basis? Their clarification for this is, my question points to the understanding of who the true owner of things is. Can we say it's mine simply because we possess it? In German law, for example, as probably any other, there is a distinction between the owner, the one who rightfully can claim that something is their own, and the possessor, the one who actually physically has the object but has no lawfully claim. Similarity, they're asking about the body that we actually possess.
Interesting question indeed.
That's what I thought.
The reason why I'm not a libertarian is because there is no such thing as initial just acquisition. You can never go back and say, "Oh, I acquired this property justly." Everybody stole everything at some point in time. And libertarianism doesn't work unless it starts off like Monopoly and everybody has the same amount of money playing field. Other than that, libertarianism just freaking falls apart. Now, where am I going with this, you might add? I kind of stole my body. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't acquire it justly. I was just kind of put here. And I almost feel like I stole some talents from the well of talent. Um, I belong to the universe, and I am at the will of the universe, and whatever the universe sees fit for me to do and play a part in. Um, do I own myself? Temporarily.
Okay. Um, this next one
I
is
would have answered that
not.
question differently a few years ago, and then
Oh.
philosophy just messed with my mind. I would have said, absolutely, it's my body. Shit.
The next question is very basic. Um, what makes your heart beat?
Isn't that the meaning of life? Isn't some electronic impulse that's shooting down from your brain down your spinal cord, and that's what gives your heart? Like, are we talking? Okay, is this
It
is
came
this a
from a religious
literal
believer.
is this a literal or a metaphorical question?
I believe what they were intending on getting at was for them they believe that God is the one that makes their heart beat. So I think they're asking along those kind of lines. If
I
that
would
helps
ask
any.
what evidence they have for that. I hate when we start off with a foregone conclusion. Um, Start off with the concept of God and then try to prove it with everything. If we're wanting to know how the heart beats, let's study how the heart beats. And it's electronic input. All we are is a series of waveforms. I realized this on acid one night because I understand wave patterns because I work in broadcasting. I understand
Right.
frequencies. I do not understand how we go from being the wave patterns that we are into being us. Because that's all we are. We're a series of wave patterns interacting with each other. Something I think is freaking cool. And we have evidence of this. We don't have evidence that there's some God pulling the strings and making our heartbeat somewhere. So I
Right.
want to start with what we know and work our way back, and then we can try to, because oh man, so many religious people always throw it out, well, how could this be without this? And I'm
Yeah.
like, shit, you're creating more questions, because how could that be without something before it? Just because we don't know exactly how we got here or how the Big Bang came about doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
Exactly.
God, it trips me out. How does how does my heart beat? Irregular, especially around pretty ladies. I just answered that question 3 different ways. Fuck yeah.
Question 6 from the audience. This person wants to know, are you an anti-theist in that you would like to get rid of religion because you think it's dangerous?
Yes. Next question.
Okay. Was Jesus a
No,
bastard?
no, 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 no. What? Jesus is a bastard? Yes, he
Was
was.
he? Okay. I found that question fun, so I included it. Um,
What question?
was Jesus a bastard?
Oh, yes. His mother was not wed to his father, therefore he was a bastard.
Um, this one this one falls more in the line of biology, and I know this isn't necessarily your field, but it was asked. So, does DNA and genetic patterns necessarily disprove creation? Any input
Hmm.
whatsoever on that one?
That's a very good question. I've struggled with that. Does it disprove creation? I guess once again it depends on what you're saying creation. Obviously we were created somehow. Now whether it was by random chance or by a deity, now that's up for debate. I think the evidence and the probability kind of points to random chance. But I don't know. Well, yeah, I'm not a science person. I enjoy watching sciencey things. I couldn't
Mhm.
explain shit to you about science. Um, I think what science, DNA sequencing, and everything can disprove is that the creation story of the Bible is false, or the creation story of John is false, or the creation story in any of the regions is false. And I have other reasons for thinking that they're false, but DNA just kind of solidifies that. We
Okay.
know that Lucy hopped out of the tree. We've named that set of bones that hopped down and walked on the ground for the first time. And that's freaking cool. We've mapped our DNA all the way back. And I actually had a theist had an argument with me. It's like, oh, we haven't mapped our DNA. Yes, we have mapped our DNA all the way
Yeah.
back. We know we came from these single-celled organisms. We know how our DNA and our RNA evolved over that time. And he's like, I don't believe that. Believe it or not, what is it that Neil deGrasse Tyson says? You know, science is true whether you believe it or not.
Well, how do you know that,
So,
Justin?
are you turning into Psy? Are you sure about that? Yes, motherfucker, I'm sure.
um,
I would love to debate
Einstein.
him something. He blocked me from
Uh,
everything.
oh, oh man. Einstein believed in God, so why don't you?
Are you asking me, is that an actual question?
Yes, that is
Am
an
I
actual
supposed to answer
question
that?
from the audience. It,
Oh, well, repeat it?
Einstein believed in God, so why don't you?
Did he? He was a deist. When we say God, it was a very general concept that Einstein believed in. Once again, I referenced it at the beginning. His conception of God was not what people consider a Christian. Let's throw out the myths right now. There's that story that goes around. It's a viral story on Facebook about Einstein stumping his teacher. You know, absence of light is darkness, blah, 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 something like that. And he made this
Mhm.
big the theological point with it. That never
Right.
happened. That's total bullshit. A lot of things that are attributed, and that's something that pisses me off so bad. I saw a theist shirt on that had a George Washington quote. I looked the quote up. Washington never said it. Something about this nation and God, blah blah. And I
Right.
actually put forward quotes by Washington to the contrary. And her point was, I don't care who said it, I believe in this. And I was like,
Mhm.
but it says George Washington underneath it. That's what's supposed to give the quote credence. And then if George Washington didn't say it, aren't you also bearing false witness against your neighbor, you asshole? Isn't that against the Ten Commandments? Fuck off, you hypocritical bitches. Sorry.
No,
What was the
I
question
agree with
again?
you.
Einstein believed in God. Einstein, once again, I feel like Einstein and I kind of had the same conceptions of God. And I feel Einstein was. There's a wonderful thing that I think is called Stupid Design on YouTube by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he's talking about people. And that might not be the actual name of it, but he's talking about intelligent design. It's about 40 or 50 minutes. He's giving a lecture somewhere. And he mentions how all these great minds, you know, always went back to God. And it was when we reached the limits of our current knowledge that we said, "Oh, that was God."
God of
You
the
know,
gaps argument.
explaining planetary. Yeah, yeah. So, and as we fill in the gaps, you know, our need for God kind of goes away. And I forget the point I was making. Einstein didn't believe in your Christian deity.
And
Bitches.
then the second part of that question was, why don't you?
Why don't I?
Hmm.
For many reasons. I guess. Do you want to go back to when I truly became an atheist? When I believed, when I came to the conclusion that religion is bullshit. I was 18 years old. I was taking a world civ class my first time in college at Western Kentucky University. We still had pull down maps back then. This was in '02. And they
Wow.
pulled down a map. And are you calling me old? What?
No, I'm thinking, I went to Roman Catholic school all the way through 10th grade, and that was all we had was pull down maps. We didn't have like these little digital projectors and such. And I remember when I got to colleges, I was like, whoa, this is really techy. and it was like just a simple projector with slides.
See, we didn't have projectors or anything. It was just pull down maps, and there was this pull down map, and it was all the regions color coded by religion, and
Huh.
it stuck out to me. It's like, oh, this region made up its own bullshit story. This region made up its own bullshit story. This region over here made up a bullshit story about how we got here in the absence of, knowledge.
Mhm.
So I can totally understand how it came about, because think about it. Human beings like to make some stupid shit up. And like to gossip about shit. And people 2,000 years ago, they weren't any more pious than we are. They were dumber than we are. People 2,000 years ago were drunk all the time because water was contaminated with bacteria, but beer was safe to drink.
Yep.
People 2,000 years ago were sloshed all the time. And they like to write. They like to write poetry. They like to write stories, much like we do today. And they like to tell these stories. And these stories also contain, mythology contains a lot of things. It contains a lot of good information about the movements of celestial bodies that you would need if you were navigating the seas, if you were a farmer. And it made it easy to remember this shit because it was incorporated into these, mythological tales that people told around the campfire when they were getting freaking drunk. I think if people had perspective on exactly what people were like, what civilization was like back then, one, it was kind of doom and gloom. You didn't know why you were here. You didn't know. Well, I mean, we still don't know why we're here, but you didn't have all the information that we have at our fingertips now to go back and think that these people were so wise or that they spoke to God. They were delusional. People that thought they spoke to God were psychotic.
Yep.
And other people that like
Still
to
are, if
make
you ask me.
some story. Yeah, people that say people that say they speak to God.
I worry.
Well, there were some people that say, "Oh, I speak to God, I pray," and like they're of a sound mind. But there are people that really think that God's talking to them. Those people are batshit crazy. I worry about that. Adults with imaginary friends scare me so bad. And I shouldn't have to keep telling adults there's no such thing as magic.
Indeed.
Next question.
Uh, what
Did
do you
I
think
answer the
about?
previous question?
Yes, I think you did. Um,
Okay, cool.
what what do you think about hybridization? Things such as the Z-donk and breeding the tiger and lion together, making hybrids in captivity that wouldn't normally exist in the wild.
Hmm. That's a good question. I haven't researched it enough to be able to really make an informed decision on that. Um, I'm not anti. Okay, the best thing that I could relate this to would be like GMOs, the crossbreeding of plants and changing their DNA. I'm
Yep.
not anti-GMO. I might be anti-Monsanto and some of their business practices, but I'm not anti-GMO. So
Mm.
it depends on what the practical applications of something like that is, and you kind of have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. And are they are we gonna get a man bear pig? Is that gonna happen? It's half man, half bear pig. Or half man bear, half pig. No, it's half pig, half man bear.
Yes. Um. All right then. Next question is, how important are critical thinking skills in day-to-day life?
You do nothing in your life based on faith. When you walk out the front door, you know you're walking out the front door, not your second story freaking window.
We
Nothing
hope.
you do is based on faith. We hope. Well, some
Well, I
people
mean,
walk out the garage, some people walk out the back door, but are you saying
well,
people
I mean,
actually walk out the window? Nobody
I
nobody
that
goes out
that.
the window thinking it's the front door.
That's what I was saying. I hope that they realize this.
And this was a great example that was in my logic class. Was somebody was like, okay, if you're running from a tiger and you decide to jump this canyon, you have faith that you can make the jump. And my teacher said, is that true? Do you really have faith that you can make the jump? Or were you critically thinking and weighing, do I have a better chance at making the jump, or do I have a better chance at fighting the tiger off that's chasing me? And I'd rather take my chances with the jump than try to fight the tiger off. Critical thinking skills are absolutely important. And one of my crusades that I'm on is fucking philosophy should be taught in 5th, 6th grade. You should start teaching baby logic. You should start questioning societal structures early on in life and having good, sound discussions. I'm not sure that that'll happen in our current society.
Well,
Shit, we can't even get real science taught in science classrooms.
unfortunately,
And
especially
that's
around.
something that is something that pisses me off so bad. Is I had a teacher in high school that walked in, and the day he had to teach, he taught evolution. He walked in and he grimaced and he held his hand over his head. And he's like, "Oh, I don't believe in it. But they were making me teach it." And I wish I could go back, and because I know, and once I hadn't came to the conclusion that there was no God and everything, hell, I thought this guy might have been fighting for my soul for all I knew at the time. I was very much more agnostic,
Mhm.
and I wish I could go back and just lay into him. This isn't about your beliefs, and your beliefs are freaking stupid. Teach science. You're a science teacher, and you shouldn't be up here throwing metaphysics in with science. That's not what you're here to do. And the thing that really gets me is people try to tackle evolution. Yeah, if you can disprove evolution, where's your freaking peer-reviewed study? Go win your Nobel Prize. They act like the scientific community is out, and it's a cabal that's out to prove that evolution is fact, and they will quell any dissent. No, if you have dissent, you will win a Nobel Prize if you have actual evidence,
Yeah.
testable, evidence that makes predictions about the future, much like evolution does. Evolution is the most well-studied. You got a kitty on the screen. Evolution is the most well-studied, most written about scientific theory, and it is one of the most sound scientific theories. If you've got some cojones and you've got some evidence, let's see it. Take it down. And
It's
until
like,
you publish your peer-reviewed article, I don't care what you have to say.
right. It's like the James Randi challenge.
You know he paid that out, right?
When?
He paid out
And
a
to who?
$1 million. Now, a guy was able to read thoughts, but he was using a computer.
Huh. Interesting.
He was using a computer. Okay, it fit within the guidelines. He was using a computer. It was hooked up to like people's, wave patterns. If they was on their like finger, and it was detecting their nervous system and everything. And he was right 100% of the time.
Huh.
Like predicting these little challenges and everything. He could read thoughts through his computer. It's very interesting. You should look it up on YouTube sometime. I love James
I
Randi,
definitely
by the
will.
way.
um, what
If
is
I
your
if I ever
view?
do anything where I give to charity, I'm going to give to the James Randi Foundation.
I don't blame you.
Fighters of
Next
bullshit, they
question.
are.
Say what?
Fighters of bullshit, they are.
Yes. Next question from the audience is, what is your view on neo-feminism, specifically the radical feminists who want women's superiority?
Huh?
Radical feminists, essentially.
Okay, I have dated plenty of girls that didn't shave their armpits or their legs. I don't know anybody that's wanting to take over the world exactly, and I don't know about radical. Um, um,
I am woman. I
I
am
think that
better than man.
men. Okay, I am all about equal rights. However, men and women are playing ball games. You guys are playing baseball and we're playing football. It's
Right.
it's it's a different world for us and it's a different world for you. You guys are looking for something different than what we're looking for. Not necessarily. And I'm very much against the binary system because, as we know, scientific discovery, there are 5 different genders among human beings, and it's a scale ranging from male and 3 in between to female. You know,
Hmm.
so well, that explains transgender and
Sure.
people that suffer from what do you call it, gender dysmorphia or
Hmm.
whatever. I'm not real good with these topics. And usually when I get a topic, I say a word that upsets some friends of mine. And I love the transgender community. So I don't want to say anything that'll upset them or not represent them correctly. I think having a transgender. I actually know a transgender who is a minister,
Hmm.
and she's not a traditional minister, and I think she'd be a great guest for you to have on your shows. And
Yeah. We'll reach out to her.
heck yeah.
Um. And your statements actually lead into the next question. Are there any requirements beyond making the claim to having a specific gender identity or sexual orientation?
Are there any what?
Are there any requirements beyond actually making the claim to having a specific gender identity or sexual orientation?
Requirements for what? Ending.
Pardon?
Requirements for what? I'm not understanding the question.
To having a specific gender identity or sexual orientation. It was a audience
You
question.
are you are
Go
what you
ahead.
feel. Who am I to say that a girl can't dress like a boy when she gets up one day, or how somebody feels or how they express their personality. It's nobody else's fucking business how you or me or anybody else expresses their own sexuality or their personality.
Okay.
So I made a joke the other day. Um, if you're not sure if someone's transgendered, I shared out a meme that said if you're not sure someone's transgendered, don't ask, or something
Yeah.
like, or just shut up. And I shared it out and said, or find out for yourself. Maybe you might get laid. Who knows? Who knows?
And this is the last question from the audience that I have. Is it always necessary to support your nation's troops in whatever campaign they are waging, or is it ethical to not support them in circumstances you disagree with?
I don't believe, and this is strictly me personally. I don't believe it's
Mm.
ever ethical to support military intervention ever. I don't. Okay, one could say, well, how do you combat Hitler? I'm saying Hitler, wasn't ethical in his, support of military. Like, why the fuck do we need a military? Why do we have to be fighting each other? We're all on the same team here. We're all fighting for the same goal. Everything can be solved through logic and reason. There's no need for military whatsoever,
It's
especially now.
that's a really interesting take. I haven't heard that before. I like that, despite the fact that
Well,
all
I
members
mean,
of the military.
okay. I support the troops and what they believe they're fighting for. Their causes are pure. Their reasons for going over there are pure. Most of the troops, I know several members of the military that have served, and they just want to help. They want to be the best they can be and help the country be the best it can be, and their intentions are in the right place. It's the political structure that I have a problem with. And I believe our military should be far more of a training ground, school type institution than what it is. I think it's going to be a slow transition. We can't do it overnight, but I would like to see our military become more like the Peace Corps.
I can agree with that. Well, those are all the questions I have for you, and I realized that you came on here for me to interview you, but there's something that I do that's a little bit different than other interviews things that I've seen. You have a chance to ask me questions.
Ooh, interesting. Well, as I like to end the show every week, what did you learn on the Freak Show tonight? No, that's how I always ended my show. I'd go around to the Friends of Freakin panel and I'd ask them what they learned on the show tonight.
A bit too much for me
What
to have
did you
written down.
learn? What did you learn?
Um, well, obviously I learned about you. I actually I forget precisely how you had phrased it, but the concept of how we should run the government and getting rid of the House of Representatives. I hadn't heard anything like that before, and I didn't realize that that was more how the Greek system had done that. So I actually think that's a really interesting thing, and I'm gonna go look more into that. That and
Hell yeah.
the Hobby Lobby
I'm
girl
gonna,
that you were
I'm gonna,
mentioning.
I'm
I
gonna
need to go
be
look that
I'm
up.
gonna break that out. It's a new bit I've been working on actually. It's did you hear my bit about speed limits?
Yes.
This is my next speed limit style bit where I try to make a critique of the government, and it's going to be doing away with the House of Representatives. Had that in the back pocket for a while. Okay, what about Hobby Lobby? That bitch.
Mhm. Just saying that I need to go look her up because I hadn't really heard of her before. Um, there was actually a comment that the Islamic woman in the pic was Reem Riyashi, I believe. She was a Hamas suicide bomber, or Hamas
Yeah, I
suicide
do
bomber.
believe she blew herself up. And
How
what's the
fun.
point? I think religious extremism is on all sides. I think it's the mechanism because like freaking atheists aren't blowing each other up.
No, we're not. Of course, then you go into the,
Exactly.
well, communism!
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah.
was Stalin's philosophy about promoting atheism? Was he a militant atheist? I think not.
He was interested
I
in
don't
promoting a government view. The atheism was just kind of a side
exactly.
thing that he plugged into it.
I feel that way. And like some people might like mention Kim Jong Il, North Korea and shit. And, like
Hmm.
they worship him. Like that's not atheism at all. They've got a god figure in place. And I kind of feel like Stalin was his own god figure, or just like Castro was his own god figure to the people.
Right.
Not to the extent of a Kim Jong Il, but in
Still.
the same vein. Yes.
Yeah. Close enough, anyway. That was a hiccup. I do apologize.
It
Um,
was
any
cute.
other questions for me?
Huh. See, I wasn't prepared for this. You're kind of taking me off guard. When's the next time you're coming over for brownies?
Probably later this week.
Sounds like a plan. I look forward to it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't in town. I'm sorry I was out of town. And we wouldn't have had these issues if I'd been in my like abode. So my
That's okay.
apologies. I've got my
Um,
I call it my
but
oasis of technology.
I'm willing to refer to that as well. I wish I had the tech setup that you do.
And by the way, I'm here in my hometown of Pikeville, Kentucky, and they're getting a Hobby Lobby. I just noticed that today.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Just makes you shake your head. I'm at a loss, okay? Because I'm gonna be honest. I don't eat much fast food at all. I do most of my own cooking, but Chick-fil-A sandwiches are excellent. But I don't want
That
to
is
support
true.
a company that's got freaking warped views. But who am I to hold the views of a company or its head against, the entire organization when they do a good job?
Right. I mean,
But
I
then
go
again,
shop at
do
Hobby
I?
Lobby myself, but it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with them.
You need to go see. I've got a dear close friend of mine that works at Michael's in Kingsport. You should go see her.
Hmm.
Get away from that Hobby Lobby bullshit.
Well, I actually I go to both, so just depends on what product I'm looking for.
You're just that crafty. Okay, and I don't understand, like, the conservative party is supposed to be about, freedom,
Mhm.
except when it comes to women's JJs or something for some reason.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's when they want to restrict things. It's very paternalistic. That's another thing about religion. Religion is paternalistic. And that's the reason why Western religions are different from Eastern religions. Eastern religions aren't paternalistic. Whereas you
Right.
have the cult of domesticity, in Western culture, and it's no wonder that you end up with a paternalistic godhead. So that's just another strike against religion in my mind. Just another reason why I feel that it can't possibly be right. Because why would those religions develop differently in cultures that weren't paternalistic, and then our paternalistic society, further this godhead that's a very much a father figure that's gonna punish you when you're bad, that kind of bullshit.
Always watching you. Just slightly creepy when you think about it.
Atheists do it better, or no? Well, atheists do it like no one's watching. That's it.
Yep.
Sorry, I saw that on a T-shirt the other day, and I thought that was humorous.
No, I like it too. I've heard it before. I do like that. Is there anything else you want to say? Any plugs for anything that you want to put out there?
Go follow me on Twitter at Mr. Justin Freakin on the Twitter. It's Justin's Freak Show, Facebook.com/Justin's Freak Show. Check out my Reverb Nation. You can download my entire first album. It's called I Don't Want to Have to Be Your Role Model. It's in MP3 format, or you can stream it right there from the site. ReverbNation.com/Justin Freakin. If you just type in Justin Freakin in Google, my shit's going to pop up. I'm the only Justin Freakin around here. Um, and see, I've got some shows coming up. If you were in the Tri-Cities area, I'm going to be at Poor Richards on August the 2nd. That's next to ETSU's campus. That's a Saturday night at 9 o'clock, I do believe, and I think it's a restaurant, so it's all ages, but you got to be 21 to drink.
Mhm.
I'm at the Will Coffee House and Music Room on July 30th, and that is a vaudeville style show. It's not a comedy show. The Poor Richard show, I'm going to be on with a bunch of comedians. The vaudeville show, I'm the only comedian. They have a plethora of other acts. They've got singing and dancing. They got belly dancers. They got a guy that asks and puts mouse traps on his nipples. So it's a
Ow.
really fun show. It is a freak show for sure, and that's on July 30th. It's 8 o'clock at the Willow Tree in downtown Johnson City. It used to be the Galaxy Lounge. It's over across from Newman's. It's a really fun time. We had a great turnout last time. About 70 people came out. That's my video that's up on Reverb Nation of my stand-up, the newest one I got on there. That's from last time I was at the Willow Tree, and it was a ruckus crowd. It was a fun night to be there.
Awesome.
and
Um,
and I got a lot of people that really like my religious jokes there. So
Well, I like them. So I'm gonna try and
Well,
be there.
thank you very much. Awesome, please come out. I'd love to have you come out to one of the shows.
Yeah, I definitely will do my best to. And speaking of shows, I think that's it for this particular show. Um, I'm working on setting up a Facebook page for the show under the name of Paleo Bytes, and that's Bytes, which is a pun on the computer part of it. So, but basically for me, if you type in Paleo Clipper on Google, you're gonna
I
find
didn't
me
get
no matter where
I
I
didn't
am.
get the pun. I'm
Yeah,
playing. I didn't get the
Bytes.
pun. I'm sorry. I'm just fucking with you now.
But so yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff down in the crotch bar. So, um,
Did you say the crotch bar?
yes, I did.
I'm gonna start calling it that now. I like that name. I
I
wish I
stole it from
came up with
somebody else.
that.
So,
It is kind of the crotch of the computer, isn't it?
yep. All right then. Guess I'm gonna stop the broadcast and see everybody later.